Okay, so I wanted to walk through 3D printing with you guys. It is purely optional, but I wanted to kind of teach you guys how to get your 3D models that you've made actually printed, if that's something you want to do, just so you can have something like physical, tangible object that you've made in this class. So we're going to kind of discuss how to get it printed through Shapeways, which is a company that will print your 3D models for you. There are a variety of different companies, but Shapeways is one of kind of the most trusted and has a really wide range of materials that you can print in. So we're going to discuss Shapeways. But kind of the basics will apply for whatever company that you might want to use. The first thing I want to do is to create an account with Shapeways or whichever company you're using. So join, create a new account. I would suggest using your Miami email. They do have educational discounts. They're not huge, but something, you know? So I'll use my Miami email and my password if I remember it. And signed in, so I can see that I am signed in. And now I can go here and upload a 3D model. I can also, I like to just get into it. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is get into Fusion, and if I haven't already, save my 3D model in a specific file format. There are a variety of types supported, but we are going to be creating an STL right there. So you can't just submit the public link and the way that we have been doing for your project. We do need to create a specific type of file. So I'm going to go into Fusion and do my acorn. Before I am only going to be submitting like one body at a time. So if for this model I've combined all of these bodies into one singular body right here, so this is all combined into one, so I save that singular body as an STL file. For this pendant, I actually want it to be in two different sections, so the top piece and then the bottom piece, so they kind of fit together and create like a little secret box on the inside, since it's hollow in the interior of this bottom half and in the lid as well. So I'm going to save them as two separate files and print them separately so they can kind of fit together well. I want to save that as an STL. Oh, sorry. On the body, I'm going to right click it. I already did it, but let me explain it. Right click the specific body that you're trying to print, save as STL. So an STL file is kind of, you can imagine it like a giant fishnet being thrown over the surface of your model right there. It's kind of, it creates like a mesh type file. So if I wanted to, I could preview this mesh right there and you can see what an STL file actually is. A mesh like covering of the surfaces of your model, made up of like millions of tiny triangles. So that's what an STL file is. I don't have to preview it if I don't want to, but I do want to choose my format is binary, so it should be default set to binary. You don't need to change it. And then I kind of have a few options with refinement, and that's going to change depending on what material I'm printing it. Just going to do low for this. And name your file, acorn lid. If you have any questions about your specific model in a specific material and how you should save your STL, just let me know and ask me. Also on Shapeways, they have for each material kind of a whole list of requirements for getting the best print and suggestions for how your file should be kind of laid out. So you can view that on Shapeways. But there is my STL file, three-dimensional file. made up out of a mesh geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and upload that. And I did, my file is, the active units in my file are millimeters, which is matching this active units right here. So make sure if you designed it inches, change this to inches. If you design in metric and millimeters, change it to millimeters. Here's my acorn lid. Let's open it. Put me at the top. Okay. So it will take a minute to load up, but when it does, it will, there it goes. They always spin around like that. So there is my acorn lid. I can view it in their program and just kind of check it and make sure I like it, looks good to me. And now I can kind of look through the various options I have of materials to print in, and there is the price that goes along with them. So there are like multiple different types of materials, kind of the basics. TPU is a flexible material, so if you're taking 3D printing, when we make our phone cases, that can be a good material to do your phone cases in. But if I wanted to make this out of metal, I can make it. I have it made and printed in copper, and steel, aluminum, gold if I wanted to. There's a stone option, platinum. So a variety of different choices. And then within those materials, you also have, let's change that to like the steel, a variety of different finishes. So if I were printing it in steel, I can make it a black steel. It could have kind of a gold finish color on it, not real gold, but a gold color to it. And then I can just add that to my cart. So 3D materials guide. This, if you're not sure what any of these materials are, because they are kind of just not really explained what they are on here, just their acronyms really. I can go to this materials guide and kind of read through what all these different materials actually are, and then also the like specifications for them. So I guess if I wanted to print this in bronze, it will explain to me some of the good material properties, some common applications, what it's good for, essentially. And there should be here it is, design guidelines. So for each material there's a little explanation of them, the benefits and the downfalls to each of them, and then there is a design guideline sheet. So there are some like technical specifications you have to follow in order to print in certain materials. Metal you can do a little bit thinner, so a couple things I want to keep in mind is my wall thickness. So when I built my acorn, if you remember, when I shelled it, I did leave my wall thickness at 1 millimeter. So I can see here that the thinnest I can have my wall is 0.6 millimeters. So I'm good with that. Actually, probably would choose polished, a polished finish, which will just be a more refined surface. So again, I'm still within that 0.8 requirement. And what else do we have? My torus is essentially a wire, so I do want to check that that torus is large enough. I can't remember exactly how big I made it, but I can go back in, edit my feature, and see that it's 3 millimeters wide and 1 millimeter thick right there. So if I needed to change it, boost it up a little bit to a little bit fatter, I could do that, resave my STL, and upload it so that it will print a little bit more successfully. Well, lots of requirements. Okay, let's go back to, yep, where I've uploaded. Once I've decided on what material I want to and kind of checked my 3D materials guide right there to make sure that my model fits the specifications for the specific kind of material I'm using, which I checked with the bronze, I believe. My wall thickness is in the right range. My torus is essentially a wire and it is in the right size range as well. So I should be good. But if I want to double check, I do have the option to go here under Tools and select Open in 3D Tools. Maybe. Come on. It's waiting. Okay, and that will open this into a new kind of template area, which really is just going to give you like much more in-depth information. So first I have to choose the material that I think I wanted, which was bronze. And it's going to give me an overview of the material, how it's printed. So each specific material, there's lots of different types of 3D printing. Depending on the material, it requires a different process. So it's going to explain that to you right there in case you want to know. Also give you the difference between the different finish options you have. So you can leave it like raw and unfinished. I could choose polished if I wanted to. So this is really just a more in-depth explanation of your options and of the process. So when I do this, it's going to check and make sure I have followed the specifications for bronze. So you can see that I have my wall thickness is right and all those other like little categories that I didn't really touch on in the previous part of the video, but it will check all of these. So you should have a green check next to everything in order to proceed. If you do not, you'll need to go back and adjust your model appropriately. So these are the automatic checks, and then after I put this in my cart and purchase it, they will do further manual checks to check all of these parts. And that takes at least an hour. Sometimes they get back to you really quickly, sometimes it's slower, but it will give you kind of a diagnostics overview of your model, just a second check before they actually print it to make sure that it will print well. And if there is something wrong, if one of these categories is not working on your model, then they'll explain that to you and you can fix your model, update it, go through the process again. So yeah, it is very helpful to go into this 3D tools, and again you find that from that page where you uploaded your model, this tool section right there. Just double check, make sure you have everything right, and then again they will manually check your model after you order it. So yeah, I can choose brass. I can add that to my cart. I can check out, or I could add another model right there if I wanted to print the bottom half of my acorn. And then after you check out and continue, you will get a second notification that your model is approved and that it is going through processing, or that your model is not approved and that you need to update it. So yeah, I think those are the basics of getting your models printed at Shapeways. If you guys have any questions about anything, please let me know. You can also find on their website support and help if you're still having trouble with like your model and making sure that it is correct. Again, these are the automatic checks that will go through after you upload your file. These are the things that you should check yourself, and they have quite a good amount of support articles and help, live chat with someone who can help you. So if you do have any questions, check their website or email me and we'll figure it out. Okay.